everybody. Hello, Saguaro. I wasn't able to stream yesterday because, partially seriously, partially a joke, I was trying to make ASMR. I failed. Kinda. Anyway, how have you been, Saguaro? Okay then, first of all, if you got an excuse, let's hear it. Sleeping naked and with the upper half of your body sticking out is one hell of a posture. What the hell were you doing? I mean, seriously. That's nice, Saguaro. For the first time in a while, I went out with a friend today. My morning began with Cosme lecturing me. As for why, well, it was just like she had said. I couldn't really blame her for being exasperated. Were you attempting some kind of midnight rendezvous? No. Then why were you naked? 'Cause it was hot. I thought you said you got cold easily. I'm feverish. No way, are you serious? Seemed like that was the wrong answer. Now that you mention it, your face really does look awful today. Should I take your temperature? On the other hand, Cosme looked more perplexed than worried. Hey, Log, how are you doing today? I tried putting on a brave face, but it wasn't going well. I wasn't expecting that stupid lie to actually fool her. You might be better. Typo here. It was supposed to be better off staying in bed for the day. You should sleep it off. It's not good to strain yourself. Nothing much. We just started stream, and if you remember, I think you were here for last stream. If not, basically the main character got into a fight, got his ass handed to him, and then walked home and basically just collapsed. And now his childhood friend is lecturing him. I'm fine. It was true that I would have physically appreciated taking the day off, but I didn't feel like I could just hole myself up in my room. I needed something normal to erase the abnormal experience I went through yesterday. I'm going. Gotta watch out for my attendance, too. Are you really doing so bad that 1 or 2 days would make a difference? Besides, don't you hate school? Not particularly, though I'm not a huge fan either. But right now, I kinda needed it. Holding my head, I attempted to stand up, but, feeling lightheaded, I ended up collapsing on my bed. Unbelievable, I couldn't even do something that simple. It's official, you're staying home for the day. How about I stay here and nurse you back to health? You know, I could make rice porridge, spoon feed you and everything. Oh, come on. If you don't want me to, just say no. I'm fine. Whoa, look at this guy. He actually said it. No, not that. Felt myself seriously conflicted for a moment. Since I couldn't move, I wondered if having her around would be safer. That was a mistaken conclusion. It was morning, so Cosme would be in less danger around all the everyday people commuting to school and work. It was better than her being alone with me in this place. At the very least, I couldn't allow myself to take advantage of her goodwill. I'll go to school, but I don't think I can go right away, so you go on ahead. Will you be okay with that? I'm fine. That was all I could say, but I had to force myself to do so. Now that I'd said it, I couldn't turn back. I should be able to make it by noon. Just try to give the homeroom teacher some kind of explanation. Got it. Then if you don't come quick enough, I'll say I knocked you out after you assaulted me, okay? Wow. That's one comment. Yeah, spread whatever rumors you want. In reality, that wasn't all that different from what actually happened. But now that I thought about it, Cosme, did anything happen on TV? What do you mean? Well, you know, that. A murder. There was another one yesterday, wasn't there? Oh. Cosme idly cast down her eyes. Well, that was only natural. I didn't exactly ask in a good way. They haven't reported one today. Maybe the killer took a break yesterday. I see. So the body really did vanish. Wrestling with a number of complex feelings, I heaved a sigh. I hope that means this is the end of it. Then everyone could... You're right. Cosme didn't... Or rather, no one aside from me and those three psychos knew about what happened last night. She didn't need to know. At the very least, it was probably best to keep it locked away in my heart until I felt ready to tell her. Even if I were to confess right here and now, no one would believe me without the body as proof. Not to mention the obvious question of how I made such a huge mess without any weapons. There was still a part of me that considered last night to have been a dream, or rather a part of me that desperately wanted to believe that. Sorry for taking your time. It'd be best if you left now so you're not late. Gotcha. Try not to take too long yourself, okay? Okay. Come on, put some heart into it. Enough, just get going already. I drove Cosme out of the room with a wave of my hand. I felt dizzy from raising my voice, but it wasn't enough to wear me out. I had to be stout-hearted. I didn't know how, but my wounds had healed, so this was probably mostly in my head. With that said, though, can't believe Cosme gave up that easily. She was quite fond of preaching, meddling in others' affairs, and was a complete worrywart, but it truly did come as a shock that she simply did as she was told without offering any complaints. Well, whatever. A girl's biorhythms were too complicated for a guy like me to understand, as fickle as an autumn sky. Anyway, I need to recover my strength. And with that in mind, I decided to rest for a while. Though I felt drowsy, sleeping was the last thing I could allow myself to do. Just as that thought drifted through my mind, And so I ended up staying still for about 4 hours. My condition was a far cry from what could be called full recovery, but the nauseous feeling in my chest had settled down. I had a headache from the lack of sleep, but I kept ignoring it. If I left for school now, I could probably make it before lunch break, although I couldn't even remember what classes I was supposed to have in the afternoon. Hello, Themos. How are you doing today? Enjoying my dizziness, I changed into my uniform and went outside. It was cold. Goosebumps began to cover my entire body, but not due to the temperature. The scenery I should have considered familiar felt terribly off for some reason. Those freaks still lurked somewhere within this city, and that thought alone made me see my normal route to school in a completely different light. My fear toward those mysterious unknown beings began to cast an ominous filter over my world. In any case, I needed to hurry on over to school. On my way, I debated whether or not to go through the park, but in the end I decided to take a detour. I didn't want to go anywhere near that place right now. I walked with a faster pace than usual, but as my condition forced me to take a few breathers along the way, fourth period had already ended by the time I arrived at school. Though maybe this was just the right time to arrive fashionably late, with the school bell still chiming in the background, I spotted a familiar face come out through the gates. Himro. Seeing her safe filled me with relief. Still, I wondered what she was doing here. After a few moments, Himuro took notice of me as well. Hello there. So this is when you decide to show up, Fuji. She wore the same old poker face as always. Was she going home? Ding dong, I'm going home. Sorry, but we'll just be passing by each other. Okay. Looks like my thoughts were written all over my face. You not feeling well or something? Are you sure you're not talking about yourself? You look pale. Really? I couldn't exactly tell, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out to be true. You're very beautiful. Haggard faces are sexy. Wow, that's quite a face to react with. You're short-tempered, aren't you? I, how could we have deduced that? Could it have been all the times he's practically been cursing everybody in this novel out in his head? It's just all the things he says about people are mostly terrible. Mostly. He does say a few good things about people now and again. But most of the stuff he says about people in his head is overwhelmingly negative. It's called minding your own business. My tone was a bit harsh, but I saw no reason to be formal with her after all this time. Anyways, it only felt natural for me to have rather offbeat conversations with her. More importantly, she was going home on her own in the middle of the day on a weekend, with barely anyone out on the streets. Himro, don't you think it's kind of dangerous to go home now? I'm going home, no matter what anyone says, even if God orders me not to. Anything else you'd like to discuss? No. Following a moment of hesitation, I ultimately caved in. She wasn't connected to me the way Kazumi was, so I figured it'd be best to keep the distance between us that way. For someone with so few friends, that felt like a painful choice, but I'll be on my way then. I don't know why you're skipping, but goodbye. Yeah. She gave a light nod, to which I replied with a curt wave before letting her pass by me. I felt genuinely relieved as I proceeded to cross through the gate. Almost everyone here was my age, and the place was basically off limits to outsiders. Even though I was only on close terms with a select few here, this place still remained relatively free from foreign contamination. This was without a doubt a symbol of my day-to-day life, as well as a place I could call my fortress right about now. Man, who would have thought I'd be thinking of school like that one day? Fuji. Potentially due to how lost I was in my own thoughts, hearing my name spoken out loud surprised me. As I reflexively turned around. Be careful, okay? Huh? Careful of what? Hiro paid no heed to my confusion, turned around and left, with nothing else said, almost like she was in a hurry to get out of here as soon as possible. I wonder what that could be. Unable to untangle the web of incomprehensible feelings taking hold of me, I simply stood there for a while, staring blankly into space instead of going after Himuro. I need that ringtone. Ren, where are you right now? I might have stood there forever, had Kazumi not picked that moment to call me on my phone. Are you listening? Wait, are you still at home or something? No, I'm at the gate. Really? Hold on a sec. Oh, there you are. Hey, hi there, over here. I turned around and saw Kazumi leaning out of a window on the third floor, waving to me. As embarrassing as always. Oh. He never ceases to annoy me. How are you feeling? Any better? If you are, then come on up here right away. You're in for a surprise. Your loud voice is surprising enough for me. I could hear her voice loud and clear already. There was really no need to use the phone. Sighing, I held my phone away from my ear to escape the auditory nightmare. Well, I had no idea what happened, but she seemed to be as cheery as always. I wish she'd pass some of that energy to me. We all did, you miserable sack of... I'd rather not say that. I'm trying to be PG-13. Or just PG in general. I'll be there soon, so stop shouting already. Roger that. And she didn't listen. Man, she really was loud. I entered the school smiling bitterly to myself. However, I found myself suddenly assaulted by an intense sense of discomfort. No, oppression. Like the school itself had been thrown into the depths of the ocean, or the belly of a colossal beast. The air froze over and cracked. A grotesque, difficult to describe presence gradually encroached out of those cracks, like blood oozing from a fresh wound. No, it seemed more like everything in this place had changed from the way it was yesterday. Only barely, but enough to be felt with terrifying clarity. I remember this welling up sense of nausea. It felt just like the one from yesterday. That mixture of blood, death, and decay, an odor thick enough to make one faint, the stench of murder. The two of them looked down on me, just like they did last night. My vision warped from the backlighting. Despite it being noon, the rays of the sun seemed to wear the crimson hue of blood, at least to my eyes. Two girls towered over me in that light, wearing uniforms I'd been all too familiar with, yet their presence felt dreadfully out of place, like a colossal abnormality in the midst of the mundane. They looked graceful and sweet as flowers. Yet they were, in truth, carnivorous plants in disguise, their thorns seeping only poison. There they stood, in a world disconnected enough from reality to make me firmly believe that. A pleasure to meet you, Ren Fuji. My name is Rusalka Schwagelin. I think that's how you pronounce that. I'm not going to check, because I will probably continue to pronounce it wrong. And this one here with the rapier glare is Kei Sakurai. This shul is a wonderful place, isn't it? I like it. The red-haired girl, Rusalka, uttered her introduction with a mocking smile decorating her cherubic face. Did that get at mean she was a transfer student? In other words, the surprise Kazumi mentioned was... Correct. We're in the same class. That means me, you, and Cosme. So let's get along, okay? Zarathustra. Her last comment came not from her lips, but echoed directly in my head. The resulting headache felt so violent I found myself nearly falling down the staircase. The school was no longer my fortress, no longer my safe haven. Foreign substances had mixed into my day-to-day life. I could feel dread spreading throughout my body. The world as I once knew it crumbled to ashes with a thunderous roar. I couldn't escape this. That's right, so let's have fun. Assuming you're smart, that is. One voice rang with playfulness, another with piercing severity. Locked in those two stares, I felt a hopeless sense of xenophobia, a fear towards the unknown, filling my chest. This day, hour, and minute marked the beginning of my day-to-day life's gradual collapse, and I was powerless to stop it. I would disagree. I think it started collapsing when you got beat to death by an albino Nazi soul-sucking vampire dude. Like, yeah, but De Erdio in Shambhala, 7 out of 13. Swastikas, 0 out of 8. Chapter 2, Xenophobia, End. On the outside, the two off-season transfer students grew accustomed to the school without any problems. Rusalka Swagelen, the cheerful and sociable exchange student who quickly ended up popular among boys and girls alike. Kei Sakurai, her taciturn, indifferent, and mature image served as a wall between her and others, but rather than avoiding her, it felt more like others believed she was out of their league. They were polar opposites, but together they made a picture-perfect combination. Truth be told, it could be said that their appearance alone had taken complete control of the school. They had a talent for attracting followers around them just by being there. No plan, no violence, nothing. To call it a kind of charisma would likely be quite apt, but I couldn't endure it at all. What in the world were these two doing at my school? Or rather, what goal did they have in mind? It was a terrifyingly foolish question. They were here for me, to observe my day-to-day life. I had to pretend everything was fine. I couldn't show them a single opening, while also making sure to observe them in turn. The school now housed 2 dangerous beasts, and I was the only one aware of it. It had already been a week since Cosme, Himuro, and the others, that is, all the students and teachers, had been unknowingly taken hostage. And that alone was hardly my only source of anxiety. I couldn't have dreams. In particular, I had to somehow prevent myself from sleeping at night. If I slept, people would die. I murdered people in my sleep. And almost as if to support that very notion, the murders had ceased ever since I stopped sleeping. I spent the whole week on edge, unable to even take a proper rest. I wondered which came first, madness or death. I felt my sanity crumbling, and the nightmare was still going on. Chapter 3, End of the Nightmare. The chime of the bell woke me from a light sleep. Though to be more accurate, I hadn't been completely asleep. A part of my consciousness still registers the sound and people around me. I couldn't fall into a deep sleep, no matter what. Brief rests like that had proven to be effective, and somehow managed to keep me going throughout the week, though I didn't imagine it would last much longer. I slept 2 to 3 hours a day at most. They were all limited to classes, free periods, and after school. Apart from that, I didn't sleep at all. Even I found it reckless, but I couldn't think of any other solutions. My thoughts remained in a constant haze, my consciousness ever dim. Hell, I bet if I looked in a mirror, I'd see a ghost of a man staring back at me. Cosme had been worried too. The one piece of good news, though, I didn't know if I should be glad or not, was the serial killings had stopped. Some were reacting optimistically, while others remained more nervous, but generally speaking, everyone here was thinking the same thing. Maybe the killer is no longer in the city. I would have been happy if that was the case, but I knew it wasn't. I had to somehow settle things as quickly as possible, regardless of whether I was the killer or not, regardless of those who of who those two transfer students really were. I had to do it now. While my mind and body were still more or less functional, if the situation dragged on any longer, I had doubts if I could retain my sanity. As long as Sakurai and Rusalka remained here at school, I had to keep the act up. I couldn't predict what they'd do if I stayed holed up in my apartment, but during the times when we were all in uniform at school, I'd have a chance to get in contact with them. That was the conclusion I'd come to after observing them for a week. If their goal was to mess up this place, they probably wouldn't go through the dull motions of pretending to be transfer students. I had realized as much a little while back, but I guess it really was my own fear that kept me from taking a step forward. There was also the fact that I'd been too passive in observing their actions. But I felt too dangerous to stall any longer. The problem was how I'd get in contact with them. I couldn't just invite them to lunch. Sorry. What I had to do was create a situation where I didn't attract the attention of my acquaintances, particularly that of Kazumi, while also making sure there were still people nearby. That way I could talk to them privately. Yeah, that wasn't gonna work. Those two stuck out like sore thumbs. If possible, I wanted to avoid being left alone with them. But then what was I supposed to do? I proceeded to fall prostrate on the desk, internally cursing the whole situation. It was time. Hey, you. PE's next, meaning we girls have to change in here, so... Oh, right. Sorry. Kazumi said something as I got out of my seat, but whatever it was went right past my ears as I left the classroom. As I glanced back on my way out, I noted that neither Sakurai nor Rusalka were there. What was I supposed to do? Kei Sakurai. She still seemed a touch easier to deal with. We'd only spoken a little, but at the very least she was also Japanese. I could probably talk with her without being constantly on edge. I thought I spotted her at the end of the hallway. Yeah, that had to be her. After hesitating a bit over how I was gonna approach her, Sakurai? In the end, I went for a frontal assault. You're not going to PE? If you're going to skip, could we talk for a bit? Hey, you listening? The more I asked, the more I felt like a dumbass, but I kept going regardless. Kinda made me look like some sleazy pickup artist. Sighing ever so faintly, Sakurai gave me a glance. I'm surprised. I wasn't expecting you to be so bold. But I'm sorry, your timing was bad. I have a previous engagement. A previous engagement? At this school? There shouldn't have been any normal students at this point who'd associate with Sakurai, meaning whoever she was meeting with didn't qualify as ordinary. Is it Rusalka? No, but don't worry. I'm not going to try to pull anything. Sorry, but if you want someone to date, maybe you should try her. You heard her. If you're fine with me, I can totally keep you company. I turned around to follow Sakurai's gaze, only to find that Rusalka had snuck up behind me without so much as a sound. One could say I was caught between a rock and a hard place. Leon, what did you tell him? He's acting all scared. Nothing. If anyone's scaring him, it's you. You might want to mind how you act. Honestly, I question his sanity if he reacted positively to that. Hey, that's mean. Why do you always have to sound like such a goody two-shoes? It's creepy. Sorry about this, Ren. You're scary. She's scaring you, right? So let's go on a date with me. What's with that face? You got something against hanging out with me? Not really. Though I'd gotten used to seeing her over the past week, Rusalka was like a completely normal schoolgirl here. I found myself unable to shake off my bewilderment at how different she was compared to our first meeting. Look, I'm not going to do anything bad to you, so forgive me for last week, Kay? Refusing to forgive her would only make things more complicated. She was still very much a mystery to me, but I had learned not to carelessly pick a fight with her. Let's put this whole thing aside for now. If Sakura's not available, then you'll do. Come with me. Hey, so I'm just Leon's substitute? If there's nothing else to discuss, I'll be on my way. Do try to be nice to him. Also, make sure you... Yeah, I shouldn't do anything too rash, right? I know that much. Later, Leon. You really should try to sound a bit cuter at times like this. And you should realize how ridiculous you look pretending to be friendly. Shaking her head in irritation, Sakurai turned to leave. Oh, and Fuji, ask me again some other time if you like. I'll be waiting. And off she went, her raven locks swaying behind her. The contents of her line might have sounded almost affectionate, but she certainly made sure to voice it in the coldest of tones. She kind of treats you differently compared to others, doesn't she? My, what a scandalous display of discrimination. Well, I suppose it doesn't really matter, right, Ren? Let's take this somewhere else. Kazumi might spot us if we talk right out in the open here. Wouldn't that cause all sorts of problems for you? I gave her a silent nod. Then it's a date. So where shall we go? The roof. Not exactly the most romantic choice for a date. You're not used to this, are you? Oh well, guess I'll teach you all about how it works. Come on, hold my arm like this. She pointed to my arm as if telling me to open it. Did she want me to wrap mine around hers? Come on. Hold on. How could you just leave me here? Ignoring her pouting, I headed for the roof. It was all an act, and I wouldn't be fooled by her appearance and behavior. Not when I knew what lurked beneath. I couldn't let my guard down. Even with my mind thoroughly exhausted, it seemed like I still had enough willpower left to make that judgment. After arriving at the roof, I walked to the center and turned around, facing Rusalka. Okay then, what is it you want to talk about, and how should we discuss it? The way that beaming, innocent smiles of her lacked even the tiniest hint of spite was driving me crazy. But I couldn't allow her to control the flow of the conversation. I had to keep calm if I wanted to get results I was looking for. First, I have a few questions for you. Answer them best you can. But no lies, got it? Roger that. I'm game. Ask away. All right? Still reeling in surprise from how readily she agreed to the whole thing, I mentally prepared the questions I wanted to ask her. What should I ask? Okay. Which question should I ask first? What are you people? What's Zarathustra? Where's that other guy? Why do you come to the city? What do you plan to do with me? Okay, so Guaro says the last one. What do you guys plan to do to me? Do to you? Aren't you going to kidnap and torture me or something? Huh? What are you on about? Are you into that sort of thing? Oh, stop it. It's just too hilarious to imagine. Rusalka began to convulse with laughter, almost as if she had just heard a clever joke. Ah ha ha, ah ha ha. Oh no. Sorry. Hold on, you got me good. You just said that with such a straight face, I couldn't hold back. During her continuing fit of laughter, all I could feel was anger. Well, excuse me for giving you such a laugh. Last time I checked, you tried to kill me when we first met. And who exactly transferred to my school the next day, only to make my life a waking nightmare? I'd barely slept at all thanks to her. Well, sorry about that. Sounds like you have quite the vivid imagination. Gotta hand it to you, youngsters. So, kidnapping and torturing you. Haha, don't be silly. We weren't even considering that, so rest easy. No need to worry. Oh my, are you angry? I'm sorry. Try to cheer up, okay? She talked like she was pacifying a toddler. I didn't want to hear that from someone in the same grade as me. Then again, me losing my temper would only give her more reason to treat me like a child. So what about your answer? Yeah, about that. Honestly, we're not really planning to do anything to you. How do I phrase this? We put you through hell the first time we met, right? Well, if you turned out to be not the one we're looking for, then we'd have no reason to care about you anymore. It'd be just a waste of time to chase after you at that point. So this is just a coincidence. It's not like we came here with the precise intention of doing this or that to you. Well, hold on a sec. Did I just hear her right? This is a coincidence? Right. It's just a coincidence that you happen to be at the spot we selected. Do you believe me? No way. But it didn't look like she was lying either. Then if me being here is coincidence, does that mean you picking this place was a coincidence too? Oh, sharp. Nice, you really are a keen one. Don't mock me. Sorry about that. Force of habit. Anyway, as for your question, the answer is no. We have our own reasons for picking this place. This place is convenient for us, you see. It's easy to infiltrate, flexible when necessary, and it helps us cut down on time and effort. Oh wait, have I just made you nervous? Not really. In short, it sounded like they have business with the school itself, not me specifically. As for what that could have been, I had no clue. So what does that mean? You've got no interest in me? I wouldn't say that. I was happy to find out you were here. Besides, this almost felt like it was meant to be. And personally speaking, I do find you endlessly fascinating. I mean, don't you feel like all this was some kind of fate at work? Yeah, it indeed seemed like that this was all fate playing a cruel prank on me, right after I wanted to never meet these guys ever again. What should I ask? Okay. So we already did the last one, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Uh, okay, Themos wants to do 3. Where's the other guy? There was one other guy with you, right? Where is he? You mean Bay? Right, him. That pale white-haired man. He felt like the biggest threat. I felt like I could still more or less talk to Sakurai and Rusalka, but you couldn't even hold a proper conversation with that guy. Just the thought of him being in the city made my heart race. Rusalka let out a giggle, as if she'd figured out the source of my discomfort from my behavior. You sure don't like him, do you? Well, that's par for the course for him. Bayes, well, actually, his name is Wilhelm Ehrenberg. Do you remember? Yeah. Heh, such an elegant name, yet so unfitting for him. Feel free to laugh, I don't mind. Wilhelm, I wasn't sure, but it sounded like a Central European name. But in that case, why do you call him by another name? Wait, it's not just him, the same goes for you and Sakurai. I remember them referring to each other with these peculiar names. Ah, well, you see, they're kind of like nicknames for us. We get them when we enlist, and they match both our personalities and unique traits. I don't really care much for them myself, but the founders seem to be fond of the practice. Anyways, as for Bay's whereabouts, honestly, I don't care. Hey, come on. I seriously don't know. Are you doubting me? Partially. They didn't seem like the kind to bother keeping track of each other, but I very much doubt that she couldn't at least make an educated guess. Do you at least know if he's in the city or not? No, I don't. He's a capricious guy, so maybe he's off playing somewhere. But I doubt he'll go outside during the day. What's that mean? Nah, telling you. This is pissing me off, so let's drop the topic. Pouting, she sulkily turned away from me. Oh well, it wasn't intentional, but it was best not to anger her. What should I ask? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Opinions, people. I'm personally leaning towards number 2. Or number 1. Okay, so Roro says 1, Themos says 2. And Themos also says 1. We're doing what are you people? What are you guys? The simplest yet biggest of my questions. I can tell you're not normal. No average person would loiter around at night like that. Then why were they doing all these things? Do you guys have anything to do with the murder cases? Interesting question. Aren't you the one who's got something to do with it? Are you saying I'm the killer? Oh, you're not? Saying that didn't change the fact that I had no idea, or rather, I didn't want to know. I mean, according to all the circumstantial evidence, it was admittedly a rather plausible question. I mean, possibility. I have no motive for murder. Is that an excuse? More like some pretty flimsy reasoning, if you ask me. Is what's happening here really that simple? What do you think? Do you seriously think something you can't trust yourself? Do you seriously think something you can't trust yourself could ever become your trump card? Be more realistic. You definitely look like you should have the talent for these things. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. You can't think that way. Or you don't want to. Or are you scared to do so? Mind your own business. We're not talking about me here. I'm the one doing the asking here. Besides, you still haven't answered my question. Guess that's true. Rusalka quickly caved in once I raised my voice a little. And as I wondered what she was going to say, we are Rita. Think of that. Think of it that way. Come again? What? I was completely lost. Esque, knight, cavalier, that ring truer. It's not like the samurai from this country. We don't care much for honor and loyalty and all that jazz. But maybe that means we can't call ourselves knights then. Well, doesn't really matter. She seemed to have come to some sort of conclusion while leaving me totally in the lurch. Knights in the 21st century? It sounded like a bad joke. I want a proper answer. Hey, that's just rude. I'm not lying at all. This is all 100% true. Well, we don't wield swords or wear armor these days, so I guess it's not all that obvious. If you're neither lying nor joking, then all I'm hearing are the ravings of a nutcase. You know, you already called us insane earlier, so aren't you being a bit redundant by repeating it here? You're an odd one. Oh, I know. I'll put it another way. How's that? If we're just talking about me, then I'm a Reater and a Hex. In other words, I'm a witch. This makes a bit more sense to you? A witch? Yep. Though I don't fly around on a broom and such. Her tone sounded playful, but with her it always did. As such, I couldn't really tell if she was being serious or not. I did witness her perform something like magic, though. She healed all my wounds after Wilhelm beat the crap out of me. Was that magic a trick or the real deal? I didn't know, but decided to put that question on hold for now. I highly doubted she would have given me a straight answer anyway. Now then, what's your other questions? I didn't particularly feel like I got a complete answer, but what should I ask? 1, 2. I think we're all leaning towards 1, since Themo suggested that last time. Ah, okay. What's Zarathustra? What's Zarathustra? Well, what indeed? You called me that, didn't you? Why, yes, I did. And you didn't deny it, did you? No. That wasn't my name. But I speculated that this whole Zarathustra thing they kept talking about referred to the killer. I could tell you, but it's not like you could understand it. What to do? Hey, Ren, here's a little question for you. Are your parents Japanese? What? I'm asking if your bloodline is purely Japanese. Where the hell did that come from? Still, I gave her an honest reply. I don't know about way back, but at least my parents and grandparents were Japanese. Or so I heard. What of it? I see, then it's Slim. Though you don't look all that out of place. Hey now. When would she stop leaving me out of the loop? I had no idea what she was even going on about. Is your surname your father's or your mother's? Seriously, why are you asking me about that? Well, it's because everyone's curious. Everyone? My comrades, that is. They're not all here yet, but about half of them are. They should all arrive eventually, though. That's why I'm asking in advance. Comrades? Her comrades? There were more like her? Zarathustra is thought to have inherited Mercurius's Evagite, and possesses the same Ananerba. Wait, sorry. You've got no clue what I'm talking about, right? Anyway, so there's this one guy in our ranks we can't stand, and Zarathustra is his substitute. He's more of an extra member than a missing number. In other words, he's one of your comrades? Not too sure about that. It's hard to tell if he's with or against us. He's rather unpleasant, you see. You're talking about Mercurius? Right. Mercurius, if memory served me right. That was the Latin reading of Mercury, and another name for Hermes from Greek mythology, right? It also referred to the chemical element. Well, anyway, I don't know much about Zarathustra either. Nothing apart from the meaning of his name, that is. So yeah, if you're interested, why don't you try reading some Nietzsche? I can lend you some of his books if you don't mind that they're in German. I'll pass, thanks. If you want to know what she's referring to is the book Also Sprach Zarathustra, or Thus Spoke Zarathustra, by Friedrich Nietzsche, who was a German philosopher. He was also the guy who came up with the Übermensch, which was basically taken by the Nazis to, promote Aryanism. But Nietzsche's idea of, the superhuman was basically just a free person who could express themselves however they want, as compared to the Nazis who believed in racial superiority. Just a fun little fact. Ignoring the fact I couldn't even read German, I had no intention of borrowing anything from her. Forget it. Let's stop here. What should I ask? And, well, there's only one question left to ask. Why do you come to this city? Then why did you come to this city? What are you after? Huh? What's good knowing what... What good's knowing that gonna do you? It won't. I just can't have peace of mind unless I do. You do realize there's no guarantee that knowing will give you that peace, right? So it won't. Who knows? Rusalka sounded another giggle while giving me a meaningful look. Was it in her nature to lord over others? If so, that was nothing to be proud of. You get a kick out of irritating me. If you're not going to give answers, at least be honest with me. Would that make you feel better? Well, probably not. Right? See, you're troubling me. She sure as hell didn't look troubled. Damn, we were not going to get any further at this rate. Now, being short-tempered will do you no good. I thought you were the patient type, but I guess not. I'm surprised. I want to answer your question the best I can, honest, but I don't think you'll understand the answers, and if I say them anyways, you might get mad and accuse me of spouting nonsense, right? Neither of us want that now, do we? But throwing a fit isn't elegant, so I'm choosing my words carefully. Maybe you could take a stab at being a gentleman yourself. Well, what do you think? Seems like I had no choice. Alright, like I said before, that's fine with me as long as you're not lying. With that said, oh wow, you're so nice, Ren. I love you. Keep your hugs to yourself, enough messing around, and just talk. Oh, come on, geez. You get embarrassed way too easily. She began to reluctantly back away. Was she really the same person from that night? I felt somewhat perplexed. As for why we came to the city, it's essentially to fulfill a promise. We all gathered and made a promise a real long time ago. A promise to one day achieve our goals. What that goal was varied from person to person. But there's a prerequisite we have to take care of first, so we're doing just that. We had to come to the city to accomplish it, and we need the cooperation of you and others. There, can you swallow that? Honestly, I didn't understand any of the main points. Cooperation. What do you plan on making me and my friends do? Nothing, really. We don't care if you don't do anything. All you have to do is be there. What? What in the world did that mean? See, knew you wouldn't get it even if I told you. If you really were tied to Mercurius, this should all make sense to you, though. Well, it didn't, like at all. With that said, this conversation is over. You might come to understand in time, so no need to rush things. Don't make that face. It's not like I'm planning to do anything bad to you. Trust me. Can I? Isn't that up to you to decide? Am I wrong? I figured I'd thrown her off by now, but it didn't look like I'd be getting anything else out of prodding this topic. I suppose this was good enough for now. Leaning on the fence, I gazed up at the sky above while trying to think over the conversation I just had. I didn't feel like I understood any of the important stuff at all, but now I guess I'd at least know what hit me if I stepped on another one of their damn landmines. I took a deep breath in an attempt to calm myself down. I had to get my act together. What was I supposed to do now? How was I supposed to deal with this? I couldn't understand half of what they were saying, but deep down, there was one thing I intuitively knew. Even if I was not in any immediate danger, I couldn't be optimistic about this situation. After all... Rusalka? Yeah? She was nuts, abnormal, no matter how thick of a mask she put on. It couldn't mask the aura of danger she exuded. If these people, ever try to pull even the slightest stunt at the school, you're gonna pay, I take it? Heh heh heh. How brave of you, Ren. You were like that last week, too. I was impressed by how you stood up to Bay. A true man, still. You do at least realize that challenging someone you can't beat doesn't really equal to bravery, right? That was reckless, rash courage, a foolish act of narcissism. Yeah, I didn't know that much, which was why I couldn't say anything to it. A person who only fought those they could beat was a coward, but someone who was all bark and no bite ended up being a fool, nothing more. Yeah, you're not that stupid, which is why I figured that maybe you had some kind of ace up your sleeve. Remember last week when I asked you what you were trying to do? Well, nothing really. You're overestimating me. You think so? Then was that just your so-called Japanese spirit at work? The Bushido mentality? The kamikaze strike? Fleeing in the face of foes is a disgrace to chivalry? That kind of stuff? Which includes this situation as well, am I right? Rusalka gave her head a purposeful tilt. Damn it. Anyway, silence was no good. At this point, it felt like I was a mouse being toyed with by a cat. She could kill me like a fly at the tiniest of mistakes. I was very much walking on thin ice here. With that said, though, I may not look it, but I've quite a bit of life experience, you know? Your eyes are, how do I put it? They're full of conviction. Something like confidence, I guess. Could it be that you believe you're not meant to die here? This was exactly the same as back then. Tell me, have you ever experienced the sensation of foreknowledge? Ascribing validity to foreknowledge is indeed in your very nature. You remain unlike one such as I, who craves desperately for the unknown. Hate her and love her, protect her and destroy her. Act as my substitute and lay waste to this law, this ghetto. I unknowingly staggered back a few steps. Heh. Rusalka laughed, yet her eyes gleamed with the same blade-like chill from that night last week. I felt dread, not from that stare, but from the meaning behind her words. I wouldn't die here, no matter how rash or foolish an action it took. The worst-case scenario would not come to pass. If so, I had nothing to fear. I felt certain of it, like I had already known. Impossible. No, that couldn't be. I had no such power. I pressed my hand against my mouth, trying to fight off a sudden onset of nausea. After a few moments of simply staring at me, Rusalka spoke up in a sing-song voice. Wow, you really are fascinating. I can't tell if you're strong or weak, or if you're the one we're looking for or not. You're so half-baked and weird. I'm honestly having a hard time reading you. And with that, Rusalka walked right past me. Hey now. It's okay. Don't worry. I have to make sure you're in one piece or Leon will have my head. I won't do anything weird, but you know. Rusalka turned around to look at me, eyes narrowed. Her shadow was reflected against the wire mesh fence by the midday sun. There was something mysteriously suspicious about her silhouette. I'm no longer the person I used to be. I won't lose to Samael, Schreiber, or even Machina. Not anymore. So keep underestimating me, and I might just gobble you up. She then began to walk off, deciding to throw in a few bare-spaced remarks. I'd like to get along with you, Ren. I mean, you're cute and all. Bye-bye now. I'll see you in class. And then she left. Her sudden cheeriness in complete contrast with the conversation we just had a minute ago. As I was seeing her off, my lips unconsciously formed a few words. You kidding me? Get along with me? What a joke. Glancing towards the wire fence, I noticed that the area touched by her shadow, and only that area, had crumbled away. It fell apart along with the rust attached to it, almost like it had been there for decades. It no longer had any use as a fence. What would happen if she did the same thing in class? If it ever came to that, I'd have to do something about it, but damn it. What was I thinking just now? If only for a moment, but I wished I could be just like them. Seriously? What was wrong with me? I was a human being, not a monster. I was not that Mercurius or that Zarathustra they were talking about. No chance in hell. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and a monster for a monster. A banal idea like that felt more like running from reality. If anything, it was thoroughly pointless, holding less value than someone's inane ramblings. I wanted neither to flee or lose. I couldn't let these guys stay in this school. I had to use my head and do something. But what? God damn it. I feebly lied down on the ground, spreading my limbs out. Thinking wouldn't get me an answer. It never would. Been thinking about this for a while now. Why the hell is that idiot so loose-lipped? The man's voice rang with the clear exasperation as he looked up into the air, heaving a sigh of pained understanding. Damn, she sure does love running her mouth off, going on and on and on. Hard to believe she's a torture maniac, don't you agree? Hey, come now, you haven't said a single word this whole time. Hey, Leon, you listening to me? Yeah. The girl, too, sounded irritated and sullen, as if indicating she hated breaking her silence. She leaned against a leafless tree located in an abandoned corner of the school grounds, shooting sarcasm right back at the man standing behind it. Sounds like the two of you share a love for unnecessary chatter. There's not that big a difference between you and her, if you ask me. Or do you simply hate that she's talking behind your back? In that case, I can only display surprise at how narrow-minded you are. Not really. That's a woman's privilege. Like I'll get hung up over every little thing. First off, she ain't talking behind my back when I can hear it, loud and clear. She's just making fun of me coming out into the sun. I see, truth be told, I was surprised myself. Clear skies as well as a warm breeze, so unlike winter. Kay couldn't help but produce a bitter smile, knowing it was precisely the kind of weather the man despised. Anyway, you might want to rein in that irritating bloodlust of yours while we're here. It's not my fault you turned albino now, is it? What drove you to make your way out here in this weather? Surely you're not trying to continue what we started the other day, are you? Huh? You sure do get hung up over stuff despite your youth. I was just messing around, that's all. Even that ought to have its limits, you know. You're pretty damn insensitive, you know. It ain't your strong suit. Then you're still interested in him? You a dumbass? Pretty sure I said that you and Malleus could have the kid. Sorry, but I ain't interested in male tail. Snorting, Wilhelm glanced over at the school rooftop. He could perfectly perceive and understand the conversation taking place over 100 meters from him. He was neither using a listening device, nor did he rely on lip reading. In fact, he didn't even have a clear view, so how? Spinning will be here in 2 or 3 days. You met him before? Once, about 5 years ago. Didn't seem like the kind of person I'd get along with. I don't care about your interests. Anyway, Spenny looked into that kid through an old go-between of mine. Christoph did the same for some reason. But he turned out clean. We checked up to 5 generations back, but he ain't got nobody but... Not saying that! Oh, wait, I accidentally clicked backlog. Blood in his veins. Unfortunately, he's a no-go. Oh, were you hoping to get another comrade or something? Not really. Following a moment of what could be taken as either dejection or relief, Kay shook her head, then reverted to her usual mask of sagacity. More importantly, it's not like you to put in so much effort. I thought you weren't interested in him. I lost interest in him as a result of that. That kid ain't no son in kind. So there's a very low chance he's related to Mercurius. But it's not completely out of the question, is it? You say that because you don't know him. Although he tried to play it down with a disparaging sneer, something akin to a vicious shadow seemed to cloud over Wilhelm's expression. A kind of dread and repulsion, a vivid sense of fear completely unlike him. Kay lightly raised her eyebrow. Is he really that dangerous? You bet your ass he is. He's a bit too crazy. The only ones who could deal with him face to face are Lord Heydrich and Machina. I wouldn't expect you to know this, but even Samael and Stryber stayed clear of him, you know. He's not like all those other crazy bastards. If you're saying that, then he truly must be a terror. Does that mean His Excellency the Vice Commander hates the Japanese? Nah, I'd say he just hates everyone. Everyone? He treats the whole world with mocking indifference. Well, Lord Heydrich is the same in that regard, which is probably why they hit it off so well. Guess his only saving grace is that he treats his fellow countrymen with reasonable tolerance. He's soft on bleep because of his ties to them. But I don't think that the holocausting bastard would ever tamper with anyone aside from those wretched spawn of Lebensborn. In other words, if Mercurius did pick someone, it would be a person connected to us in some way. Everyone else is lower than shit to him. The hell you got so quiet for? Got any complaints or something? No. Though she shook her head curtly, Kay did have certain doubts. Even if Mercurius matched Wilhelm's description of him, wouldn't that have only made him more likely to be less picky? Though he claimed Mercurius was tolerant of his companions, Wilhelm was clearly avoiding him. Could they really have been so certain that someone like that considered them all special? Probably not. If you looked down on everyone, then it made no difference who he picked, either. Either Wilhelm and the rest of the old guard couldn't consider that, or they didn't wish to. At any rate, she would simply have to wait and see for now. Kay exhaled a brief sigh. I understand what you're getting at. I'll keep it in mind for now. But if he ain't an Honoraba, he must be wielder, he must be near, no question about it. The population of this region doesn't match up with its number of souls. It's vague enough that I can't say for certain, but it's probably that kid. I'd say the odds are 50-50, no, 60-40. You see, I believe he's that type of person. Well, he does seem to go hand in hand with trouble, that's for sure. Which reminds me, you noticed it yet? Wilhelm gestured to the rooftop with a smirk. That kid's probably... I see. The rest of his sentence melted into the rustle of the wind, reaching only Kay's ears. Whatever he might have said, it made the girl's expression harden. Malleus mostly thinks the same. She likes guys like that, you see. So how about you? Feeling any fellowship welling up inside of you? I'm not interested. Her tone implied she had already forgotten. One could say she was being more indifferent than necessary. But if that's the case, maybe I should raise it to 70-30. In the end, he's still a worthless piece of meat. He probably just got lured into all this by Mercurius' spell. But didn't you initially believe him to be the one? Yeah, that turned out to be bust, so that's that. There ain't no vacancies in the Obsidian Round Table, you see. A conclusion with no room for argument. It didn't seem like Wilhelm was trying to distort her theory. That said, she couldn't argue with his stance of denying everything on the sole account that Renfuji was a pure-blooded Japanese. She was fed up with this difficult-to-understand elitism and racism, but that was how he'd always been. She didn't have to take him up on every little thing. I'll discuss that situation with someone more understanding. It would be bad if we were to leave an unidentified Ananurba and its user unattended at this point in time, after all. In any event, we should move carefully on all fronts for now, including that one. There's no point in beginning the game without its master. Restrain yourself as much as possible. That's supposed to be your attempt at insulting me? Take it either way you want. However, there was one thing she wanted to make clear. With that in mind, Kay went on. Will the Lord Commander, that is, Lord Hadrix, truly return? As long as we can't guarantee that. Yeah, you, me, and all the others would end up being the biggest dunces in the world. Well, I wouldn't put a joke like that past the guy, but don't let it bother you for too much. You asked the impossible. In that case, you and I are nothing more than clowns. Are you sure you're all right with that? Ha ha ha, I see. Clowns, huh? That's true. When are you going to take this seriously, Bay? Whoa, hold on, calm down. Wilhelm lowered his tone, attempting to pacify the girl as he sounded a stifled chuckle. He was acting completely different from how he had been up until now. Again, you only say that because you don't know the guy. Well, guess there's not much to be done about that since it's all from before you were born. But you might want to watch your tongue. The Lord Commander will return. He's already returning. I said this before, Leon, but don't think it in... I want to make a list of, like, the most problematic characters in fiction, and then I want to put this man right on top of it. Because, god damn it. I think he's cursed the most out of every character in this novel. And he's also the only one who said slurs. Who's lived less than a quarter of a century can gauge that guy with your limited life experience. He's a devil. I don't know any better way to describe him. The harbinger of beguiling light. Hold to time for thou art fair beyond words. In contrast to the puzzled Kay, Wilhelm's suppressed laugh continued without end, soon warped by madness. The beguiling light, Mephistopheles, is the Lord Commander's title. Then what is Faust? This whole city. The pact was exchanged between the Lord Commander and Mercurius at Berlin. Look at this city for proof. This is all our doing. The best way to summon the devil is to just create hell. Like this. Kay gave the trunk she'd been leaning against a light punch. Perhaps it was an optical illusion, but right before she did, the bark looked like it was wriggling like entrails. You might excite yourself over whatever you want, but remember that I've told you to show restraint, First Lieutenant. This area belongs to Malleus and myself. Should you ever trespass upon it, you best be prepared to face the consequences. Don't get so crabby. I don't think you've got it in yourself to create a swastika out of this place. In other words, you're underestimating me? Come on. I'm being kind to you here. Malleus and I are old, so we don't feel strongly about this. But you're different, aren't you, little Kay? That outfit suits you just fine. It's real cute. After giving Kay's uniform an appraising look, Wilhelm went on. Living a normal life, falling in love, screwing around with tears and laughs and love filled with passion. The springtime of fucking life. A box full of candy that all those bleep scum get so giddy over. You probably want that, don't you? So if you want to bow out and dream, go see the world. I'll content myself with bleep blood. Come on, say something. Ridiculous. Taking a step forward, Kay turned to look back at Wilhelm. Whether you're making fun of me or not, choose your words carefully. I will not permit any further insult. Oh, telling me to mind my own business? Then you understand, don't you? You seem like you seem to like foolish questions, or perhaps you're simply dumb. Hold to time for thou art fair beyond words. Is that what you want to hear? You can hear it as much as you want. Don't make light of me. Not bad. Sure you won't go back to your sure you won't go back on your word? Bleep. You want me to swear it? Self-proclaimed Aryan? Ha 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 ha. Willem made no answer, instead letting out a laugh filled with malice. Though it shouldn't have been particularly loud, all birds in the vicinity scrambled off into the distance away from the trees. I see, that's good. Do your best to make sure you don't fall behind, Malleus. Using a brief moment when the sunlight was hidden in a rift in the clouds as his cue, Willem took off. As his presence gradually vanished, Kay muttered a brief phrase to herself. Such an aggravating man. After all, it had been known since ancient times that men with overly loose tongues were good for nothing. And I think we're gonna call it there. God. Every time Wilhelm shows up on screen, I have a mini heart attack, because I'm always afraid he's gonna get me cancelled. Could he just... Oh god, I get it's a part of his character, but still... Well, anyways, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are, I wish you well, and I love you guys. Bye-bye, everyone.